Though there are hundreds of luxury watch brands in this world, when someone says luxury watches, the first brand that comes to almost everyone's mind is Rolex. But why is it so? What special did Rolex do to achieve this? The average cost of a Rolex is somewhere between say 5 to 50 or 60 lakhs, and few models cost more than a crore. Why does the company actually price their watches so much? Is it purely for the work that goes into making the watch, or is it majorly just because of the brand value? Well, let's figure that out in today's video. Stay tuned till the end to know some of the brilliant strategies used by Rolex to advertise its watches. To understand the success of a brand, we must know how the brand actually came into existence. In the year 1905, a young 24-year-old man, Hans Wilsdorf, founded the company in London. He began to dream watches being worn on the wrist because back then watches looked something like this. And even if there were wristwatches, they were neither popular nor were they very precise. But Hans Wilsdorf believed that wristwatches are not only elegant but also very reliable. Unlike most brands, in the initial years, Rolex did not focus much on sales. Instead, its focus was majorly on improving the quality of the watch. Due to this, in the year 1910, Rolex was the first wristwatch in this world to receive the Swiss certificate of chronometric precision. And in the year 1914, Rolex was awarded a Class A precision certificate, which was a distinction that was usually reserved for marine chronometers. From then on, Rolex wristwatch was synonymous with precision. Now let's come to an interesting part and see the materials that go into the making of a Rolex watch. Number 1. To maintain its beauty even in the harshest conditions and to stand apart from the crowd, Rolex uses Oyster steel, a special steel alloy that is specific to the brand. This Oyster steel belongs to the 904L family of steel, and it is more stronger, shinier and more resistant to corrosion as compared to the 316L family of steel that is used by most of the watchmakers. Due to its exceptional properties, this Oyster steel is comparable to those of precious metals. Number 2. Gold in its pure 24 karat form is too malleable. That is, it can be deformed easily for its everyday use as a watch. So to make it harder and improve its resistance, Rolex manufactures its own 18 karat gold. Yes, you heard it right. It manufactures its own 18 karat gold in 3 different colors: yellow, white and pink. Rolex did this so that the highest quality of gold alloy can find their way into the Rolex watches. Number 3. You'll be fascinated to know that in some of its models, Rolex integrates metallic material from meteorites. Just imagine having particles that were once in space on your watch. It's truly amazing, right? Just like every student is tested during their education, similarly, every Rolex watch is tested to its extremes before it leaves the Rolex site. A Rolex watch has to pass more than 20 different drop tests before their launch. And a special shock testing equipment provides the watch with so much impact that it is 100 times more than the impact provided during a car crash test. There's a specific model called the Rolex Deep Sea watch that can withstand depths of 3.9 kilometers below sea level. That's like the average depth of the Atlantic Ocean. To test these watches, Rolex places them in a special tank which subjects the watches to a pressure that is felt at 4.8 kilometers below sea level. So it is claimed for 3.9 but tested for 4.8 kilometers below sea level. At this depth, the pressure is so high that it is equivalent to a weight of 4.5 tons. Obviously, every Rolex deep sea watch that is offered for sale has survived it. When it comes to inventions, Rolex has more than 500 patents. In the year 1931, Rolex developed and invented the world's first self-winding mechanism with a perpetual rotor, which means that before this, everyone had to physically wind their watches almost every day. But after this, the watch had the capability of self-winding. This invention is today at the heart of every modern automatic watch. Similarly, in 1956, Rolex launched the DayDate model, which was the first ever wristwatch to display both day and date simultaneously. This watch became so popular among world leaders, especially presidents. Rolex did not stop here. It went on inventing several things like the Cerachrome bezel, different types of locks like the Easy Lock, Glide Lock, and so on. Making beautiful, amazing, and reliable watches was just one part of the puzzle. The main part is to prove them and sell them in the best way possible. So now let's enter a super interesting part of the video, that is how Rolex watches were marketed. Rolex took a major step forward in 1926 by the creation of the first waterproof and dustproof watch, and they named it Rolex Oyster. This was a very big thing back then, and they had to prove its reliability in an amazing way. Hans Wilsdorf noticed an opportunity when a young British swimmer was going to swim across the English Channel. This wasn't any ordinary swim. It had a lot of media coverage and it was very much awaited. So Hans Wilsdorf presented the swimmer with a complimentary Rolex Oyster and told her to wear it during the swim. The swim lasted for more than 10 hours and the watch had survived it. Rolex had published the success in the front page of a famous newspaper, and this had gained a lot of publicity and had proved the reliability of the watch in an amazing way. Even the first expedition to fly over Mount Everest in 1933 was accompanied by Rolex Oyster. Now the Rolex could withstand heights of 9,000 meters above sea level, where the temperatures were like minus 40 degrees Celsius. Rolex had published even this success in the newspapers. You'll be surprised to know that in 1953, before launching their new model, Oyster Perpetual, they had sent the watch along with Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay to the first ever human expedition to the summit of the Everest. And after the successful climb, they had launched the watch. It doesn't stop here. In 1960, a Rolex Deep Sea experimental watch was attached to the outside of a vessel, which along with two members was going to explore the deepest place on Earth, the Mariana Trench. And guess what? The watch had completely survived the Mariana Trench. And similarly, in 2012, filmmaker James Cameron made the first solo expedition to the deepest point on Earth. And the only passenger that was common in both the voyages was a Rolex. So Rolex would definitely be proud that their watches could survive both the deepest point and one of the highest points on Earth. Apart from all this, Rolex advertises a lot by sponsoring high-profile events like the Wimbledon, Australian Open, which are famous tennis tournaments, and car races, golf tournaments, and much more. After listening to all of this, I would like to leave it to you to decide if the actual reason for Rolex watches being so expensive is the work that goes for it, just name, brand value, or a perfect combination of both. Definitely leave your opinion in the comment section. And if you found the video informative, do share it with your friends and family. That's it for today. Thank you. Have a nice day.